Way out in the Gulf of Mexico on April 20th, 2010, an event kicked off that would become one of the most infamous environmental disasters of our time. Today, we're talking about the Deepwater Horizon. You see, this story doesn't really start with the explosion. It starts much deeper, with a slow, creeping pressure. And I'm talking about pressure in two ways: the geological pressure, miles under the seafloor, and the corporate pressure happening right there on the rig. So to really get what went wrong, we've got to go back. We have to understand the incredible forces that were at play long before anyone saw a single spark. The Deepwater Horizon was, well, it was kind of a two-sided coin. On one hand, it was this incredible feat of engineering, right? A real symbol of our ability to drill for oil almost a mile beneath the ocean's surface. But on the other hand, every single foot they drilled deeper was a step into the unknown. They were pushing the absolute limits of what was technologically possible and what was safe. And in the days right before the disaster, that rig started trying to tell them something. There were these weird pressure readings popping up. Critical tests on the well's stability were coming back with results that were confusing and, frankly, pretty alarming. The signs were there. But here's the thing. Deadlines were looming, money was on the line, and those warnings got misinterpreted, or worse, just completely dismissed. And all that pressure we talked about, well, it was about to find a way out. On the night of April 20th, a whole chain of failures was about to come together in the worst way possible. At 9:45 p.m., it happened. A massive bubble of super flammable natural gas just rocketed up the drilling pipe, blowing past all the safety systems. It only took 4 minutes, just 4 minutes, for that gas to find something to ignite it. The whole platform just erupted. For 36 agonizing hours, it burned like a torch in the middle of the dark ocean before it finally gave up and sank beneath the waves. In all that chaos, in the fire and the explosion, 11 people never made it home. 11 workers lost their lives that night. It was an immediate, terrible human tragedy, before most of the world even had a clue about the environmental nightmare that was just getting started. And that's the thing. The rig sinking wasn't the end of it. No. That's when the real horror began. Because with the rig gone, the wellhead on the ocean floor was broken, unsecured, basically an underwater volcano, gushing crude oil with absolutely no way to control it from the surface. So now the fight wasn't about a fire on the water anymore. It was about a deep-sea crisis that would go on for almost 3 months, turning huge parts of the beautiful Gulf of Mexico completely black. For 87 days straight. I mean, just think about that for a second. For nearly 3 months, oil just poured out, completely unchecked. Engineers tried everything they could think of. They tried lowering these huge containment domes. They even tried something called a junk shot, just pumping random debris into the well to clog it. But the pressure from the well was just too powerful. Nothing worked. And the sheer volume of it all, it's just staggering. By the time they finally managed to cap the well, it's estimated that 4.9 million barrels of crude oil had spewed into the ocean. It was the largest marine oil spill in U.S. history. That's a number so big, it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around it. But this wasn't just some abstract number on a report. This was thick, black gunk washing up on tourist beaches. It was vital coastal marshes, the nurseries for so much marine life, being literally suffocated. It was those heartbreaking images of birds caked in oil, unable to fly. It was dolphins and sea turtles dying in toxic water. This was the entire food chain from the very bottom to the very top, thrown into complete chaos. After the leak was finally stopped, one fight ended and another one began. The fight for answers. The whole world was asking the same question. How on earth could something like this have happened? And the official investigation, well, it turned out it wasn't just one mistake. It was this absolutely catastrophic chain of failures, a perfect storm of things going wrong. First, the cement seal that was supposed to cap the well, it was faulty. Then, the pressure tests that should have caught that problem, they were completely misinterpreted. And to top it all off, some of the key safety alarms that could have given the crew a few extra precious seconds to react had been disabled. One thing after another, all lined up for disaster. The financial fallout for BP was, as you can imagine, absolutely massive. The company ended up paying over $20 billion in fines and settlements. It was one of the biggest corporate penalties in history. But let's be honest, for the people, the communities, and the ecosystems that were devastated, no amount of money could ever really turn back the clock. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, the disaster was a brutal, brutal lesson about the real risks of drilling deep under the sea. It forced huge changes in safety regulations across the entire industry. But maybe more than that, it was just this tragic reminder of something we sometimes forget. Our amazing technology is never perfect. It can fail. And the cost of ignoring the warning signs can be absolutely devastating. The story of the Deepwater Horizon really leaves us with this huge question, one that's probably more important now than ever before. We trust so much in our incredible technology to power our lives. But when that tech fails, and it will fail, who really ends up paying the price? Is it the company, or is it the environment and the people who have to live with the consequences?